Hello everybody, once again, welcome back to the car. We have just seen yet another new film. We are back in the car together, and we actually saw a movie in the theaters. This has been a strange year, DJ. A strange year. Tonight's film was none other than the most anticipated film of the entire year, probably the biggest blockbuster that has ever existed in the space of space and time, none other than Madam Web. I'm just kidding, we're not watching that garbage.
We watched a better movie.
Instead, we watched... anything's a better movie, I think. Tonight, though, we did watch the biopic of none other than Bob Marley. So we saw Bob Marley, One Love. And DJ, what is your score? 1 to 10?
1,000. Oh, that's not an option. I'm sorry.
It's just split his head open. This second big bang of cinema. Just
8. Yeah,
8 out of 10. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I give it a... I'm going to go with a 6.5.
Oof.
I mean, and it's not like a negative thing. It's just literally like...
No, I know you rate on entertainment. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just oof.
Yeah. Anyway, DJ, why is it an 8 in your opinion?
It's overall, it's well shot. It's got great emotional moments, really good intercalation. It is a biopic, but it's really personal. A lot of the movie is just zoned in on Bob, and a lot of the shots, the cinematography, the way that they film it, it's like Bob is either the center or he's slightly off. And there's all these shots in the whole film are just like incredibly well thought out. The way that if when Bob is the center of attention, they make sure he is, and when he's not, they put him off to the side to make it clear that this is about the people around him. And they just do a really good job of like kind of integrating all the characters and making everyone feel like they belong together there. It's just really well done as a package. Good acting, good casting. Like, just everybody did a really good job. And it's just a really fun, strong, like, depiction in general. On top of that, I'm really big in the Bob Marley and his past, his history, his Rust for Culture, of him passing away young, and just a lot of, and how he like made so much movement to the world in general, and it just does a really good job of encapsulating that without making it without making him. It still keeps him seeming humble, even when he's giving into things. You kind of feel like you can relate to the man. Did a really good job, and then especially they also interweave a lot of like the soundtrack is like all Bob Marley's music interwound with it, which is a really neat thing.
Yeah.
So it's just fun.
Okay. Personally, I give it a 6.5, because it is really well shot. There's good direction. There's good acting in it. It is engaging for the majority of the film. The issues I had with the film was there's a lot of cuts between time periods that are not made very clear. So there could be times when you could be watching a scene for up to 5 minutes without realizing exactly where they have jumped to as far as time. And even then, some of the time jumps...
They do like the years, but that's it. They don't show you throughout the year. That gets really messy.
Exactly. And since it jumps so much, it's very hard to tell where they are in the timeline, because it's like they'll jump and then the one actor will show up and you're like, oh, okay, so that's young Bob Marley, so it's when he's a kid, but then it's not always clear on when in his childhood or when in his younger years.
Yeah, some of it's not important because it's showing like when he became Rastafarian. Some of it's showing like moments in his life that matter, but some parts kind of do, like when they formed the band and like when he's a kid. Like there's some moments that you kind of, it would be nice to know like when, like how long ago was this? Like was this 10 years ago? Was this 5 years ago? Like how recent is this to what's going on? Because it kind of matters sometimes.
Well, yeah, and then also within it, they jump between like, literally it's like he's a kid, he's just meeting his wife, they've made a band, but then it's like there's a scene in it that comes in like this early in the film that, as far as his child is concerned, is actually pretty late in his childhood. It's pretty clear that it's really late in his childhood, but it shows up way earlier than another very important scene.
Yeah, it gets a little muddled.
It gets very muddled. So that's one of the things that I had an issue with this film. The other thing is that I don't really know a lot about Bob Marley. I haven't listened to a lot of his music. It's not really the kind of music I listen to. And as a result, yes, I know. I'm a monster.
You just want the world to burn.
But it's so pretty. Fire is so beautiful, DJ. That's why I want to burn it.
Ink spots didn't want to set the world on fire, but you're sure as heck did.
Anyway, it's just one of those things where it's kind of a blind spot. He's not necessarily one of those cultural figures that I know a lot about. So, as compelling as the story was, it is just one of those things where I don't.
Yeah, it missed you as the audience. Yeah.
I'm just not the intended audience.
But I am. I'm the intended audience.
See, but I mean, overall, I can still acknowledge that it's a good film. It's well put together. The acting is really good, and they picked a part of his life that was extremely important to what they were trying to put forward as Bob Marley's life message, essentially. Yeah, which is, I have to say, pretty impressive that they were able to pull it off.
They did it's a hard job to like take a person's like entire like career and then pick one moment and stick to it, because they don't. They bounce around a little bit to things around that, but they end cap it. The beginning of the film is the first concert in Jamaica, the big peace concert, and the end of the film, it ends with a peace concert. Right. Not to be too spoiled. It's a biopic, so we're not going to get like deep into like details, but it's history, so it's like not. But the film is encapsulated between two concerts. Yes. And so everything that happens between there relates to those concerts more so, and the purpose of the message more so than like the character of Marley himself. So there's a lot of things that it doesn't go over, but it doesn't. So it might feel less biopic and more like message oriented, but I feel like that was intentional. Well, yeah. Just because of the character that it's about. I feel like that is also more. I think Bob Marley would appreciate that more than a film that would embellish. Like, it's just kind of, it's about this, like, encapping moments of a man's life and how it affected him and how he affected everyone else. Makes sense. But anyway, it's a fairly good movie. Would you recommend it for the theater viewing? I would say if you're a biopic fan or if you're a big Bob Marley fan, yes. Like because this is, it's a film about a musician, and I will say the actor who plays him and the people around him do a really good job of imitating his music. Sometimes they would actually, you could tell they were playing Bob Marley's actual recordings and around it, and sometimes it looked like it was the actual actors themselves like recreating it. So I would love to know a little more about like the making of the film for that, but. Yeah. In watching it, it was really amazing with the sound in the theater of being able to hear, like, it's like being in a concert. Like, you're hearing all the sound come from every direction, and you're seeing, like, these close-ups and a man's emotions in there, and you're also getting some inner audience interactions as well. I would say it's worth it. Yep. If you're not, I would honestly say you could probably skip it entirely, but I think it would still be worth a watch, even for people who aren't like huge Bob Marley people, once it's like in streaming or, you know, in other sources, because I think the message and the content is worth it. That's fair. I mean, it's also relatively relevant. I think it was released in a timely way. What the film's kind of message overall is, where it's like, hey, we're together, we have to make it work. One humanity, essentially. Yeah. But yeah, I'd recommend it for the movie theater if you are a big biopic person or a Bob Marley fan for sure. If you're not, I mean, it's worth renting. It's an interesting take, and it's an interesting story about a figure that... And it got a lot of, like a lot of this family was like producers on it or involved in some way. So that was really good. Like a lot of his kids and extended family were directly involved in the making of it. So even if it may not be like perfectly accurate, I feel like it was accurate to what the message, like what I think Bob Marley would have given it his blessing.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, we're not going to go into a spoilers section. But I cannot believe that the film halfway through became none other than a commercial for Raising Cane's and their One Love slogan. It was especially odd when the dog started singing Bob Marley songs.
Oh, man. I will actually, just to give it, I will give one spoiler. The film is a biopic. It's historical. There's a little bit of embellishing here and there, but not much. But there is a scene where one of the men who shot him in his assassination attempt, they never actually found out who all did it, but they know that one of the gang member guys was one of the main politicians, like the gang guys, was involved. But one of the guys came back and asked for forgiveness from Bob Marley, and he just like, he asked for redemption, I believe is what it was. And he's like, I can't give you redemption, but I can tell you where to find it. And it's just like, and he forgives him. And that just like hit hard. Like that hit me pretty hard. But it was just like the Bob Marley was, I think, misunderstood by a lot of people, like portrayed the message on him that they wanted. For a long time, each side of the war in Jamaica claimed him as their own, and a lot of people believed he supported one side, and so they were afraid at the concert he was going to support someone, so that's why he was attacked. But, or that's what they think, they don't know for sure, but the message that he gave was unifying. In when he got to Exodus and later things that he wrote, the message became more and more unifying. And the movie does a really, really good job of showing that progression from him coming from just kind of like, I would say, loose, not clear representation of belief, like very vague religious and a piece, to like being very specific and being really intense about peace. It does a really good job of that progression. And the end caps in his first concert, in peace concert in Jamaica, to his the one that he did in 1979, I think it was, end caps the film, and that is a great framing. They took a very, just like basically 3 years of his life. He was 36, I think, when he died, and it's like 3 years of his life, and they just cram all of it in there fairly decently. We talk about pacing. There's some problems with pacing. There's some problems with, it gets a little difficult sometimes when they're showing the past, but everything they show of his past relates to the exact thing he's dealing with in the present. It shows what he's dealing with in the present, and then it shows something that happened in his past that like relates to this. And he's like, it's almost like he's having these come to Jesus moments where he's like, oh man, this is what I'm here for. This is what I need to do. This is a revelation of what I can do to make things better. And it's just a good framing throughout. That's why I wanted to give more context to my 8, but also agree with you that the biggest drawback of this film is that I can see very well where it'd be boring for someone who isn't really into the source material, doesn't understand what's going on, because there's heavy accents and there's a lot of time skipping. And if you don't know or have trouble understanding, you're going to get lost really fast. I didn't have problems with the accents, but I know you did. And
no, I didn't have problems.
You did.
That was
okay.
Your SO.
Okay, so and I know there were a few other people after the theater that were like talking about it, like with the issues with the accents, which I get. Like accents can be a tough thing for some people.
Yeah.
But overall, like other than that kind of cramming, I think it was really well done. I think they tried to get as much in there as they could without cramming it too full, and just got a little carried away.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's like ridiculously long. It doesn't seem to drag.
It's not Killers of the Flower Moon where it goes on for 4 hours.
Well, no, Killers of the Flower Moon, if Martin Scorsese had the same idea with this film, it would have been a 3-year-long film.
Probably.
Anyway.
Well, that's a big problem. Is time. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's too long. When it starts to wane and it starts to feel like it's gonna burn out, it ends.
Pretty much.
Actually, like it gets to the point where you're like, you kind of like, I think I understand what this movie is, and then it ends and you're like, okay, I'm fine with that.
They did a good job overall. 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10 from a fan. So, solid film. Anyway, speaking of solid films, we try our best to watch solid films every single week with a new review. If that interests you, this channel will interest you. We also do a podcast on movie and entertainment related topics, watch bad films and rewrite them, and watch old films and revisit them and talk about them in a podcast form. So if that interests you, be sure to subscribe for the channel. Otherwise, let us know your thoughts about Bob Marley, One Love in the comments below. And if you like this video, leave that like. And we will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for watching.